Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. On this episode, we are going to be working from Lazarus Lynch's Son of a Southern Chef once again, and we're going to be making his Put the Lime in the Coconut rum bars. This is for my husband, some of his favorite flavors: coconut, lime, definitely rum. So he found it and asked me to make it today. So that's what I'm going to do. There are three different components to this, and we're going to start with the crust. For preparation, I've gone ahead and heated my oven to 325 degrees. He says to spray a 13x9 baking dish with cooking spray. You know, we don't do that here. So I've just buttered a 13x9 baking dish. And now he also says to line a baking sheet with parchment paper, but I'm fairly certain this is not going to boil over, and there's no other mention of actually using that thing, so I'm not going to worry about it. There's no reason as far as I can tell. But there are three components, and we're going to get it started with the crust. And this is a graham cracker crust. So I've got my graham crackers. All right, that's good. My graham crackers into my food processor with a little bit of brown sugar, light brown sugar, and some coconut. Now, this is sweetened flaked coconut, so just regular stuff you can buy at the grocery store is fine. And there's coconut in every layer of these bars, so that's pretty good, I think. Now I'm going to pulse these until, actually I'm going to not pulse, yeah, I'm going to pulse these until it becomes like a fine sand texture. You want all of this to be broken down. So I don't think I have any more pieces of anything in here. Some of the coconut might be a little bit big still, but that's going to be fine. And now we're going to add we have a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of fine sea salt. He says just a pinch, so whatever. I've got those in there. We just happen to have some fine sea salt, so I used it. I'm sure kosher would be fine. And then we have some melted unsalted butter. And we're going to pulse it again until it sort of comes together. And now you can see that it's it seems sort of damp from the butter. And so what we're going to do is press this into our baking dish and make the crust. So let me get my baking dish and clean up just a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to just dump this carefully into my buttered 9x13 baking dish. And now I'm just going to use my clean hands to sort of spread it around, and then we're going to press it together to make the crust sort of evenly on the bottom. So now I'm going to put this in my 325 degree oven and bake it for 10 minutes, just sort of until it's lightly golden brown. So here's our crust, and it smells so good. It smells a little bit like a waffle cone, like a fresh waffle cone. It smells delicious. So that was in the oven for just 10 minutes, and I just took it out, kind of brown. It'll be fine. Now we're gonna make the filling for our Put the Lime in the Coconut rum bars, and I have to separate some eggs because we need just the yolks. We're making sort of a traditional custard pie filling, sort of like a key lime pie. And yeah, you often just use just the yolks for that kind of filling. Okay. So we have our egg yolks in here, and we're going to add quite a lot of lime zest, quite a lot of lime juice. He does not suggest that we do this separately because sometimes the acidity. So we have a new can of sweetened condensed milk. This is all of the sugar really that goes into this. There we go. And then we need to put our rum in here. I've got just white rum because that is what we had that I wanted to use, and use whatever you like. He does not suggest any particular type, so whatever you like is fine. And then we have some vanilla. There's still a little bit of cinnamon on my measuring spoon, but that's okay because there's cinnamon in the crust and there's so little. There we go. So those are all the ingredients we need right now. And get that closed up. We're going to beat this with a hand mixer until it is well combined and thickened. He says about 3 minutes. So I'm about done with having this all over my counter. So we're gonna call it done. And I'm going to take these out. We're gonna have to wash those because we're going to need them again for the other component. But get as much of the sort of lime zest and stuff off of here as I can. Because I'm just like that. It's probably not a big deal. But it's thickened and definitely combined. And now we just add our last ingredient, a little bit of coconut. Like I said, there's coconut in every layer. So I'm just gonna stir this in. Okay. Our crust has cooled a little bit, enough that I can handle the baking pan, so that's fine. Oh, I'm gonna have to clean this whole thing up. So now we're just going to put the filling in the crust and we're gonna bake this for about 20 minutes. He says the edges should be set, but the center should still be a little bit jiggly, slightly moving, he says. So let's just pour this in here, try to get it nicely, evenly around the whole crust. So I'm just going to move it around instead of spreading it around with my, there we go. Great. Into the oven, still at 325 for 20 minutes. Okay, so this has been 20 minutes. It is actually pretty set. The whole thing is not very jiggly, so we're definitely done. We need to cool this at room temperature for 30 minutes and then in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours before they're ready to serve. So we'll see you then to make our topping. So the last step is to make the topping. We're not gonna do that part just yet, but we are gonna make some toasted coconut that goes on top of the topping. That's the very last step in the book, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it now, just so it'll keep. It doesn't matter really. So I've got my coconut, same sweetened flaked coconut in a dry pan over medium-high heat. And we're just gonna keep stirring it and trying not to burn it until it is light golden brown. So now I think that possibly the intention with the parchment covered baking sheet was to toast this in the oven, which is another perfectly fine way to make toasted coconut. But then he tells you to use a dry pan over medium-high heat to do so. So it's already starting to get a little bit brown, so I'm just gonna keep an eye on this and try not to burn it. And yeah, we'll be done real soon, I think. All right, it's starting to get pretty dark in places, so I'm gonna take it off and I'm gonna take it out of the pan because it will continue to cook in this pan, and I'm just gonna put it back in the same container that I've had it in, and that will be plenty good enough. You can get a much more even toasting in the oven, but this is fine too, and very, very fast. We're back to show you the coconut cream. We're finally at the final stage of our put the lime in the coconut rum bars, and we need to make coconut whipped topping. So my bowl was in the refrigerator for a little while because he says to use a chilled bowl. I don't think that's too important. I have some whipping cream, some heavy cream here from the refrigerator, so that's chilled. And I need some coconut cream. So this is unsweetened coconut cream. This is exactly what he calls for. If you can't find this, you can very carefully open up a can of coconut milk before you shake it. Don't shake it. And the stuff at the top is basically coconut cream. So I'm just gonna open it with a standard can opener. So I have my plunger type measuring cup just to make sure I can get all of it out, and a spoon. You can see I did shake it up, but it's kind of still got a few lumps in it. That's just where the coconut will separate a little bit. Try not to be too messy with this. I'm gonna have to save the rest of this in the refrigerator and figure out what I'm gonna do with it. So we're just gonna combine these two. This did not, he did not say for the coconut cream to be chilled, so I didn't worry about that. All right, cleaned up a little bit. And we're going to use the same hand mixer to whip this to soft peaks. Okay. Okay, we're at soft peaks now, and I need to add some confectioner's sugar. He says sifted, so what I'm gonna do is just use this tiny little, well, small sieve that I have and put the confectioner's sugar in it and sift it over the top. You see we do have some lumps in there. I'm just gonna use my fingers to sort of push those through. All right, so there we go. That's almost stiff peaks. We're definitely done. He said to do that on high speed, which I did for the whole thing, but I just didn't. Anyway, I don't think it needs 5 minutes after it has soft peaks the first time. Anyway. There we go. And now we're ready to put together our coconut rum bars. So he does say to just put this over the whole pie and then add our toasted coconut and then slice it and serve it rather than, I mean, kind of looks like the picture is sliced and then put the stuff on. Do whatever you want, but we're gonna do it the way the book says. So I'm just gonna put all of this on here. There we go. And then I'm just gonna put all of our toasted coconut sprinkled on top. And that is our final step to putting together the entire put the lime in the coconut rum bars. I hope you enjoyed watching me make this. We're gonna slice it and serve it and see how it tastes, and we'll let you know what we think. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make Put the Lime in the Coconut Rum Bars from Son of a Southern Chef by Lazarus Lynch. And I have to say, we really enjoyed this recipe. We had some guests over when we made it, and everyone liked it almost. There's coconut in every layer, so if you don't like coconut, again, this is probably not the recipe for you. But if you do like coconut and you like key lime pie, this is a very analogous sort of thing. A little bit of rum, a lot of lime, and honestly, for me, it just felt like a little bit of coconut, even though there was some in every layer. It wasn't overpoweringly coconut because there was so much lime in it, which was still delicious. It does call for a pan size that I don't think is very common, a 9 by 11 inch pan. I don't have one. I think I have like 6 by 10. The 9 by 13 is normal, and then a slightly smaller one, which is not 9 by 11, not 9 by 11. I think it's definitely smaller than that. So I used my slightly larger one, and they turned out a little bit thinner than the pictures. I do feel like this would actually probably make a nice pie without adjusting the ratios at all. A little bit of a thicker crust, a little bit of a thicker filling, and it would still be delicious. And I feel like I looked at his website, and there is a pie that is a lot like this. So I feel like it was probably an adapted recipe from a pie to a bar. So anyway, that's about it. You do need a food processor for the graham crackers. You don't have to have that. You could bash those up by hand in a plastic bag. They wouldn't be quite as fine. Or I think you can buy graham cracker crumbs already. Or you could use a graham cracker pie shell, pre-made, if you want to make it a lot easier. But you wouldn't have the coconut in it then. You know, up to you. But other than that, I think he uses a handheld mixer, which most people have because they're easier to store. You could use it in a stand mixer if that's what you usually prefer, of course. And yeah, it was relatively easy. Does require a food processor, though there are ways around that. And if you like a key lime pie and you like coconut, you should try it. Let me know in the comments down below if you do try it and what you think. And if you've enjoyed watching me make this, give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and come back and watch me make something else. Oh my gracious. She never does this. She never squeaks her toy. He knows.